Hi everyone, welcome to today's research-informed defensive lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I am your host, as always, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, Neil Widener.
Download the ASP Unlimited app for all the content you love from Active Self-Protection and more with no interference from YouTube. No ads, no age gates, exclusive videos, seminars, classes, and more on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Android TV. Hit the link in the description or download ASP Unlimited from your app store today.
This one was sent to me out of Memphis. I'm going to read the lead in for you from the man who posted it. This was him who was involved. Been over 3 years since this happened, so I sort of feel comfortable sharing this insane experience and also one of the reasons I had to move out of Memphis. 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning, two people break into the neighbor's house, an elderly couple, knocks a 70-plus-year-old out, goes in, ransacks the place. His wife somehow made it out and ran to our house and started screaming for help. And right when we came out is when they were running to their car and started firing at us. We have audio of that happening. Let's listen in and watch both of these surveillance cams.
You good? He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's out. He's out. We got one more. Where? Where? I got it.
I've zoomed in on the top one so that we can watch it a second time. Dad comes out and he is going to get the first shot at the bad guy who was firing at them, but his Glock jammed. His Glock had a failure to cycle. So our guy goes and gets his AR-15 out of the truck and then chambers it. That's going to take him a second. Uses it effectively to stop the bad guy. That first bad guy fell off. If you were watching the other one, as soon as he did, the other guy boogied out and ran off. I could not find a news story on this one that said if they ever caught that second bad guy or not. It didn't look like our 70-year-old was badly hurt, at least nothing that I could find. Now, I want to read the rest of his statement because our good guy here had more statement. It said, even though I saved a life, it took me 2 years of going through hell mentally because I had to take a life as well. And I hope nobody ever has to be put in a situation like this. Let me verify it here. Has to be put in a situation like this and have to deal with the trauma that comes after. But unfortunately, this is starting to be a normal occurrence in Memphis. And then it says in parentheses, please learn how to defend yourself and others. Yes. The shooting range and gun safety is very important and can definitely save your life one day. Edit. Also make sure your gun maintenance is up to date and is cleaned properly because my dad's Glock jammed after firing once. Thankfully, neither he nor his dad were injured. It sounds like the elderly lady was okay, and I think they were able to help the elderly man. That one perp took the asphalt temperature challenge, and the other one ran off. So Neil, tell folks some of the exclusives that are only in the Active Self-Protection Unlimited app.
Oh man, there's a ton of stuff there. The React Ripple is my favorite because that's my show.
That's basically John Reed's mean tweets.
Yeah, so that one's a really fun one because you don't have any prep of what we're going to talk about, and then you have to respond to comments. It's a pretty fun one. But we also have the first watches. We've got a few lessons, like today's lessons, that are exclusive. They're a little too hot for YouTube, so we don't put them here, but we put them over there, so there's that kind of stuff. And
we also do the monthly online seminars.
The online seminar, and then the real big one is all of the online classes. I think we're up to 19 classes, full-length firearms classes that are there from Tim Herron, those kind of folks, the high-end guys, Riley Bowman. Of course, our classes on there as well, and there's a ton of stuff over there. So I'd say there's probably 200 pieces of content there that are app exclusive that you can't get anywhere else.
You know, Neil, we say all the time, and I stand by the advice, to be very careful getting involved in third-party encounters because of how dangerous they are, about how little that you know. But here is a different story. It's your neighbors. They're 70 plus years old, and they are your neighbors, which you should know your neighbors. That's part of being a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person. And when your neighbor comes screaming for help, you can't just say, hey, not my circus, not my monkeys, especially when they're elderly people. You probably have to get involved in this one.
I think you absolutely have to get involved. The age thing is an issue. It's your neighbor, and it's the neighborhood. You don't know what she's screaming for help for. She may have a medical emergency back at the house. So you aren't expecting to walk out into a gunfight, but yeah, I think you're compelled, and you need to help your neighbors. That's what we tell our kids to do, is we help people that we know and that we love. I don't know if they love these people or not, but I would assume that having lived next to them as long as they had, there was some sort of relationship that she felt comfortable enough to come to you for help. So then give her the help. We're going to talk about a whole lot more stuff here as we go. But yeah, I absolutely think you get involved in this situation.
Yeah, and I've had a circumstance like this literally across the street from my house, not quite like this, but the fact of the matter was we had a domestic happening across the street in the front yard. And while they were yelling at each other, I was like, that's okay, it's fine. And then I told my wife, if he puts his hands on her, I got to go out there and help. And so call 911 if that happens. I did. He ran off. They caught him later, went to court. I testified. They convicted him of assault for that. So there's all that. What I'm saying here is set your boundaries, right? And know them ahead of time. And I think that knowing who your neighbors are and being willing to do that. And I think, Neil, that still happens in small towns like yours a lot more than in big cities like Phoenix, like mine.
Yeah, absolutely. We see that all the time around here. And we're in a much smaller community. People know each other. I know the first and last name of my neighbors on either side. Of course, they're all a half a mile away, but I also know their grandkids. I know their kids. I know who's around. So we can kind of keep out for each other. And they do the same for us. We've got a special needs son, and they're keeping an eye on him as well. So it's a bit of a community feel out here. And even though we're a bit rural. So yeah, I really think you've got to figure out what your boundaries are. If you're living in a city of 7 to 10 million people, it's probably going to be a little bit different. But your next door neighbors are people you should already know, because if there's an emergency, that's probably where you're going to end up.
Yeah, and I hear, I live in the suburbs of Phoenix, and so, looks like the suburbs to me. And I try to know my neighbors, and I try to know their names, and I try to know what's going on in their world so we can help them when they need help. And that's a spiritual commitment to me, right? That's part of being a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person, and part of my walk with Jesus. I'm not trying to proselytize you. I'm trying to tell you how I live. I encourage you to live the same way. Now, dad comes out, dudes are shooting. So dad comes out with a gun, smart. And then, okay, I'm down with that. You hear crazy things coming. I need help. Okay, I've got a gun on me. Then I see dudes shooting at me, and dad gets one shot on him and his Glock jams. He has a bolt action gun. Now, I know in the lead-in that the defender here said that watch your maintenance. But Neil, we teach a lot of handgun classes. You teach them more than I do. I will bet a mortgage payment that this was not a cleaning issue, but a lubrication issue.
To steal from Mike Williver, 100%. We don't see guns jam because of cleaning issues very often at all. Now, yes, you absolutely can throw your gun in a dryer full of lint, and you can do that. But for the vast majority of handguns out there, just making sure that it is lubed and oiled and everything is moving okay is going to solve this problem, especially in a Glock. You rarely hear about a Glock having any kind of issue unless it's dry. And when it runs dry, it doesn't run well.
That's exactly it. Dry guns don't work worth a darn. So keep your lubrication up. And man, okay, I don't give this kind of advice on this channel much. Usually it's on Active Self-Protection Extra. My default is just a decent synthetic motor oil. I also really like Lucas oil for lubricants. I like AMSOIL for lubricants. I don't have a relationship with either one of those. They publish their testing data though. Don't buy the hype for squeezed frogs or Crisco or any of that stuff, man. Just use a good synthetic lubricant, okay? And lubricate your guns, especially the ones that you carry, because they are going to dry up. And so good lube is important so that your gun functions adequately. And we see it on the line, man. A good lubrication will solve like 90% of problems on the line. Now our defender comes out here, and dad's got the Glock, and he goes into the truck that it has covers on the wheels. That truck's not moving anywhere. So it's like a safe in the front yard, Neil. And okay, I mean, success is a heck of a deodorant, but why would you keep a gun there?
You know, that was the thing that I thought of first. I'm like, wait a minute, are these people in the process of moving? Were they half loaded, with all of their stuff to go somewhere else? But this was a gun that all he had to do was work the charging handle, and he had a round in there. So essentially, he had a loaded firearm in a pickup. Now, I don't even know if the door was locked. I'm assuming it was. And again, I don't want to berate this guy, because he came to the rescue. He did what he had to do, and he played Roy Rogers and helped the lady out, the damsel in distress, right? But again, let's look at the lessons that we can learn. If there are bad people in the neighborhood breaking into houses, what's going to keep them from breaking into your car and stealing your rifle? And so, that one made me scratch my head. I'm glad he was able to get to it and use it, but there's an active gunfight going on right in between those vehicles where he's opening the door. So he put himself at major risk to get to that gun. I would love to see that gun staged in the house somewhere. You can get a small long gun safe that can sit just inside your door, just inside your, wherever, but outside puts that at risk of somebody coming and stealing it. And we know the number one vector for bad guys getting guns is stealing them out of cars.
Say it again for the people in the back. The number one vector of felons use firearms that felons use is stealing them out of unlocked cars. And that looked like an unlocked car to me. And you're right, he came out there with no gun in the middle of a gunfight and had to retrieve his gun and then chamber it and all that. This is why I strongly recommend a quick access safe in the house, in your place where you are going to be for more hours than anything, probably your bedroom, your primary bedroom, in order to be ready for that. And my choice there is a home defense shotgun, but a home defense rifle is a fine choice, just not like this. I mean, it worked, right? And so again, success, heck of a deodorant. But
I want to give the guy kudos, John, that he stepped into a terribly dangerous situation and was victorious. So don't take this as me beating up on this one guy. I want to take this as here's a lesson for the rest of us that fortunately, I think luck played a little bit of a role that he didn't catch around as he was trying to get into his pickup. And so again, there's so much better options. And while this one worked, like you say, success was a hell of a deodorant in this case. For the rest of us, let's internalize this a little bit and think about, do you want to walk into the middle of a gunfight to pick up your gun? I think for most of us, the answer is no. Let's do something different.
I certainly don't. I want to show up to the gunfight with a gun. I also love that he has a long gun for this gunfight, right? If I can choose, if I have to get into a gunfight, of course, if I can avoid one, I'd rather. But if you say, hey, John, you're going to go to a gunfight, do you want to take your pistol or do you want a rifle or a shotgun? Give me the rifle or shotgun all day, every day, because I'm proficient with both. Now, of course, proficiency matters, right? You can't miss fast enough, or it's very hard to miss fast enough to win a gunfight. Real easy to hit slow enough to lose one. So this guy had to put shots on target with that rifle. It certainly looked like he had enough training with that rifle to get that done. And at these kind of short distances, Neil, especially if you need a precision shot, you got to think about things like your offset of your rifle mounted optic or those kinds of things. And you don't want to be thinking about that stuff in the moment. Do I have to turn any fiddly bits on? You just want to grab that rifle, hit the charging handle and go. And so you better be proficient with it.
We have to spend time at the range. We have to spend time with whatever weapon we are going to use to defend life with, so that we do know that. So we've got that in our so let our subconscious do the work of getting everything ready, so our conscious mind can start paying attention to things. Because what I see in this scenario is we've got the neighbor lady kind of hiding right there behind the trash can, and I wouldn't say he's using her for cover, but I would have loved to seen him get her out of the way, because she's eating all of his brass. She's getting all of that percussion from the rounds going off, and she's still kind of in the line of fire if this gunfight continues. So if you can, spend that time with your gun so that you have that extra capacity mentally to take care of those other situations, I think you'd be in a better shape.
We call that unconscious competence. You want to be so competent with the gun, you're not thinking about how to manipulate the firearm, how to get it into condition to use. It just does. It's, a Harry Potter spell, Accio gun, and the gun comes out and it just does what you need because you're thinking about the situation. So you're in the creative side of your mind, in the problem-solving side of your mind, rather than in the rote memory side of your mind. Now, he gets him, puts him down, cool. Let's remember our follow-up, because they're kind of chaotic in their follow-up actions here. And the aftermath of a gunfight, highly chaotic, all right? So you wanna have a plan in place. And we use the acronym TAP-IFS to have the plan. Now, you're not gonna just think in the moment, hey, what is TAP-IFS, if you haven't memorized it? So please put it to memory. Remember, Tap is for the fight. Threat, is he down? Do I need to hit him again? A, accessories, or does he have any accessories, or are there any accomplices around? Is there somebody else? What happened to the other guy? We know he ran off. P, is my partner in the fight? And are they still in a fight? Do I need to go help them? Once those are done, the fight's over. Now we start the follow-up. Ifs. I, is anyone injured or any good people injured here that I need to deal with their injuries? F, firearm. Well, we know Dad's Glock is jammed up, so we need to go do something about that here and get that gun back in the fight. Next, F, follow-up. What's important now? What do I need to be doing right now to make us all safer? And then finally, S is seek help, call 911, and get the cops on the way. And I think, Neil, if you memorize that tap ifs, then you can kind of look around a little bit. Oh no, man, what just happened? Everything's in trouble. Wait a minute, go back to my acronym. What is it that's important right now? I need to go tap ifs. And if I have that in my mind, then it will guide me to do the right thing in the right moment, which will help me to follow up and be safe.
Yeah, John, it's one of those things that this is a great example of a lot of things, and it happened the right way. And we finished with a very positive note here, but I think we can learn some really good lessons here. So again, from me, kudos to the guy that sent this thing, and that was an incredibly brave thing you did. And taking 2 years to deal with it. I know people that shot people 20 years ago that still aren't over it. So again, do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Congratulations for taking care of your neighbor. But let's internalize the rest of these lessons so that if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, somebody's screaming outside your door, you can get out and you can cover your ASP.